Leute, wie gesagt, hier das nächste. Diesmal ein bisschen anders. Ich probiere ein bisschen die Tools aus. Ich hoffe, die Musik ist nicht zu laut, sonst checke ich das nächste Mal wieder aus. Und wie ihr seht, werde ich diesmal mein Screen recorden, dass ihr quasi, ich sag jetzt mal, mitlesen könnt. Falls ich euch so schnell lese oder sowas, dann könnt ihr nämlich pausieren und nochmal nachlesen. Ich dachte, das macht das Bild Sinn, bis ich rausgekriegt habe, wie ich ein ordentliches Video mache, was nicht so wie mein letztes. I'm sorry for that. So, I'm Stream and Legacy, read the next chapter of installing yourself in daydream from starling. And let's begin, shall we? Chapter 2, The Attendant. Bellamy meets Sunny and almost gets bodied trying to return a lost child to the daycare. 1:24 p.m. August 4th. Bellamy woke to blinding sunlight burning through her eyelids. She groaned and rolled over, and even then the sunlight bounced off her white pillowcase. Too goddamn bright. Since the sun refused to fuck off on a loud bell, 10 more minutes, she had no choice but to get up. For the rip-off. Snatching her phone off the nightstand, she unlocked it and read the time. It was nearly 1:30 p.m. Shit. She practically slithered out of bed, cursing and hissing under her breath, stomping to the bathroom and kicking a towel out of the way to unlock the door. Bullshit, why did my alarm go off? As she brushed her teeth, the events of the night before flooded the forefront of her mind. It clung to her like a wad of gum on the bottom of her shoe. Something atrocious had happened at the flags, and while she wasn't entirely interested in figuring out what that atrocious thing was, curiosity almost always got the best of her. Dead? Or the fact she was pretty much a transponder for the dead. Belle never went out looking for tragedy. Tragedy just seemed to find here like a damn magnet above a box of paper clips. She couldn't control that. There were just so many red flags the place had raised before she even stepped foot inside. Vanessa had immediately raised red flags. The static shock she'd given her didn't feel normal. It wasn't easy to describe. The closest Belle but was someone who took her keyboard to see was laid on the other side. She hadn't made a massive deal of it. Sometimes her feelings were viral products of anxiety. As she spat into the sink and rinsed, Belle kept one eye on the shower behind her to the mirror attached to the medicine cabinet. If Belle could help it, she kept the water usage to a minimum, only using what she needed. She always been very hesitant around scenes of bathrooms in general. She spent a little time in a bathroom as she could. Once Belle tossed the toothbrush back on its cup, she turned to get into the shower. She took 15 minutes to wash off and scrub the events of last night from her skin. Oh god. Synthrivanphobia. I really hope I pronounced it right. Probably not. She was unsettled by water fountains, or more currently, thousands of shallow water. Her therapist had both agreed it had to do with her past. No matter what she did or tried, Belle just couldn't get over it. She couldn't let it go. Just couldn't let any of it go. As she toweled right her hair, Bellamy again lost herself in thought. Something about those training models seemed off. The way the videos explained specific procedures involving malfunctional animatronics and how to subsume them with controlled shocks felt cruel and inhuman. Sitting there and watching them made her feel uncomfortable. Even the air was thick with incompressible tension. It made breathing rather difficult. But most worrisome, everyone around was indifferent to it. Even Chico, who had seen the entire thing, skimmed over important details as if they had never happened. or like she didn't see them at all. She was an animatronic following her coding. She didn't have the capacity to lie or keep things to herself, right? It googled her mind. Had she finally lost it after all these years? The megapixel flex felt like an uncanny valley, an entity that threatened to shrivel up and spit out. So, what was keeping her from quitting? There were plenty of reasons to quit. Was the paycheck worth it? Was the banging in the bathroom really that bad? She asked herself those questions as she got dressed. Her work uniform was relatively dull. Black slacks, name tag, shirt with Passpal logo and the grey combineds. Those weren't going anywhere if she had anything to say about it. Blazers tied ties in neat little bows. The company standards were questionable and had always been since the early 80s. But at the very least, they knew better than to mess with the areas. The checks were solid and the pay was above the minimum. Called it a terrible life choice, but Bellamy chose to go back despite everything. No mascara today, instead just a bit of a concealer to hide her bags under her eyes. Her braid was the last touch, always over her left shoulder. Breakfast was a half-hot, half-cold raspberry toaster spoon. No matter how many trips to Walmart, she always forgot to buy a new toaster. After ensuring her hair was smoothed out and braided, Pearl grabbed the car keys, dashed out the door, down the stairs and past the lunch door. The chances of running late were slim. Work was a 15-minute drive away. According to Yep statistics, Wednesday was the slowest day of the week and today was Wednesday. She chose to park in the same place as the night before. As she strolled through the side entrance, the familiar sense of uneasiness poured over her like a bucket of ice water. But she let it roll off her shoulders, focused on getting to where she needed to be. If you ignore it 19% of the day, of the time, it will go away. The theory proved to be somewhat correct, at least for the moment. The air seemed to thin with each step she took. The front desk was empty. Again. But Freddy was the only one there to greet her. The time she swiped her badge, slipped behind the desk counter and hurried into the back room. There was a sticky note on the TV addressed to her. Afternoon. Please finish your tapes and make your way to the daycare. Sam. Easy enough. Watching the last few tapes was a bore. Sam was right when he said they weren't all that important, but she figured it was something he had to check off his list of things to do. All paper documents were signed. Forrest tapes stacked neatly next to the TV on the neon green chair pushed in. She was ready to go to the daycare. This is going to be interesting. The moment we all waited for. Interesting wouldn't be the right word for it. The daycare was located on the ground floor beyond the long and spacious corridor. The first thing Belle noticed was the winding water fountain that acted like a lane divider on a street, keeping foot traffic as smooth as possible. Bellamy eyed the fountain verbally the second she had heard the soft rush of water. Steered clear from it as best she could and focused on looking at other things. Posters, colorful, large, orange and blue posters covered the walls. She stopped to examine them up close. There were advertisements for candies, sun drops and moon drops, huh? More importantly, the two mascots were represented each canyon. There wasn't anything remotely unsettling about either of them. She found them downright adorable. She shook her head and sighed. Some people were just really dumb. Wasting no more time thinking about the stupid supervisor, she continued. Stepping into the daycare's upper level was quite the experience. The walls were blue, the carpet was a darker blue, and the chicken area of the daycare was lined with cherry-red steel guardrails that kept guests without wristbands out. There were dozens of kid-sized tables and chairs, and in the center, roped off by blue and silver stands, stood two imposing gold figures that didn't precisely match the posters, but even still, not creepy. Really? Was Sam afraid of these guys? The status resembled what looked to be jesters with perfectly round faces, one a sun, the other a moon, back to back, of course round. The sun statue stood tall, arms stretched wide in welcoming gesture, while the moon statue behind it stood hunched over like it was ready to pounce on something. Bellamy could see why someone wouldn't find him creepy. Personally though, they didn't look elderly. She had an inkling the sun figure was the favorite of the two. Her thoughts trailed back to the candies. So basically melatonin and monster? I don't think giving young kids candy like that is a good idea. It wasn't what Bellamy would call a full house. It was almost that safe, a few children sitting at the tables, bouncing and cycling in the seats as they waited to be granted entry. A short line of adults stood at a desk where a teen was scanning IDs and handing out wristbands. Bellamy noted every little detail, including the colorful tubular slide that laid just before the swinging red turnstiles. Above the hole was an equally bright and colorful sign that read, "Slide in the fun." She couldn't see too much from where she stood, but she did notice how there was netting that hung from the ceiling and the tops of it looked to be jungle gyms. A paradise for little squirrels. It took all of her willpower not to think about sliding down a tube and into what looked to be a gigantic ball pit. Her inner child was bouncing up and down. Nope, Bellamy, you're walking. You are walking at a job. An adult job that pays real money. You aren't going to risk losing a job over a slide and frigging ball pit. She observes the little boy toddle through the gate and dive face first, belly down into that slide with an excited scream. Bellamy crossed her arms with a huff. She really wanted to dive down that fucking thing so bad. Well, better go introduce myself. He's too hoping today is a better day. With that in mind, she strode towards the desk, carefully making her way around the little children that hopped and waved around her legs. The teen attendant noticed Bellamy and beckoned over with a smile. It was the small things that made a difference. Feeling a bit more confident, she walked over and stood facing the desk. Her back towards the two swinging gates. Hi, you must be Bellamy, right? The name Megan was written in sloppy orange crayon on her badge. Bellamy nodded and offered a hand. Megan took and shook it gently. Nice to meet you. I'm Megan. As you can see, I'm on tech. Samuel told me you'd be coming, and I'm supposed to give you a tour of the daycare. But you see, well, the thing about that is I'd rather not go past the turnstiles if you don't mind. At least she was polite about it. Her apprehension was as obvious as she birthed Meg in the middle of her obnoxiously broad forehead. Bellamy tried to keep the fact she felt the teenager's fear and apprehension as they shook hands. Megan's eyes continued to dart over Bellamy's shoulder towards the slide as if something was going to crawl up and terrorize her. So you're afraid of the daycare attendant too? She inquired. It didn't make much sense. Really, at least to her. The animatronics here were supposed to be friendly and approachable. Megan was the second person to refuse or avoid the tour of the daycare. I wouldn't. It's just really freaky and like super loud. The other one though, hell to the no. Even the kids are scared of it. Megan slumped forward to rest her head on her hands, watching Bellamy watch her. If you want, you can go in and look around. There ain't much in here. Just a couple of party rooms, bathrooms, storage rooms, and the daycare itself. Oh, and the Lucky Stars gift shop. If you're gonna peek into the daycare, you should probably prepare yourself. Since you're super brand new, your info might not be in the system yet. If it doesn't recognize you as a staff member, it could see you as a threat and attempt to physically remove you. The kids had its top priority. It was built not only to take care of the children and entertain them, but to guard them as well. At least it was the manual says. It's against the rules for anyone aside from staff and family members with wristbands to go in there. And even then, family can only linger around the security desk to pick up the kid. And that's only if they get a checkout token. Megan's voice trailed off. I said one not back to the top of the slide. It was getting boring very quickly. Dealing with people who were afraid of nothing had always been a pet peeve of hers. So what you're saying is lieutenant and friendly and boss association loud. They're scary because they're loud and friendly. What about the moon? Megan frowned and Bellamy pushed back. She was adamant, however, very adamant about not going downstairs. The moon. It's supposed to keep an eye on the kids during nap time while they're sleeping. But from what I've seen, only a few of them actually sleep during nap time, which is like an hour and a half, but still. When I was hired, like 6 months ago, I had heard that it twisted a little boy's arm. Sorry, but I'm not about to risk losing an arm. I need both. Keeping her unkind thoughts to herself, Bellamy simply nodded and offered her wrist to Megan, respecting her wristband. Oh, no, you don't need a wristband. Your face badge will get your places for sure. Just be careful, okay? You seem really nice. Oh, Before I forget, there's a theater down there too, but it's off limits, under construction. Still clear. And that's how the brunette wandered around the daycare's upper level. She took their time to take everything in, from the bunches of balloons to the party rooms, to the restrooms and vending machines. How many vending machines did one area even have? When she neared his daycare, they led down the store. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. When she neared the staircase, it led down to the floor below. The pink floor crashed into the back of her knees, causing them to buckle and give way. Her stomach flopped as she realized she was falling forward. She reached out with both hands in search of anything to grip onto. Bellamy's hands barely found the railing in time, wrapping a tiny arm around the bar for dear life. The forces of forward for momentum, furthest the grip on the railing caused her arm and back to pop. Ouch. She let out a soft hiss of pain, but recovered quickly and gripped her around to check on the child who has crashed into her. It was a little blonde girl in a bright pink dress. She looked ready to cry, reaching for the woman she nearly killed. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It was instant as combat felt to gently scoop the child up. Her arms squeezed in protest, but she ignored in favor of moving away from the top of the stairs, away from the falling heads of the girl together. Hey, it's okay. It was an accident. It didn't fall. See? Where's your mama? The little girl looked around for a few moments, but frowned and began to sniffle. Your mother was nowhere inside, and it clearly frightened her. She clung tight to Bill in his neck. I don't know. I was playing hide and seek with Sonny, and then I went with Mommy to use the bathroom. Bellamy frowned, looking around for a possible frantic mother searching for a child.
So what does he know?
She had it around here somewhere. If not in a daycare, perhaps in the bathrooms. The priority was the child, though. So instead of wandering with the girl, she held her close and slowly descended the stairs towards the play area, towards the large wooden doors. She could hear faint yelling and laughter from the other side, along with the loud jingle of bells. Huh? Bells? That's where she needed to go. What's your name, sweetie? I'm Bellamy. Angie. Angie? That's a real pretty name. It's nice to meet you. I'm sorry we had to meet like this, but don't bother. Here, walk here. That means I'm going to get you back into the daycare and then I'm going to find your mom, okay? I told myself and gentle. He seemed to do the trick. Angie ran to her face and nodded, brighten up. I can't complain with Sonny again. She had a good idea what Sonny was, but didn't comment. Instead nodded. All that matters was getting Angie back inside the daycare where she belongs and finding a mother. The moment of truth, my guys. Bellamy felt intimidated standing in front of a gigantic wooden door. They looked like something straight out of a fairy tale, which clearly matched the theme. There was a scanner on the wall by the left side. That had to be it. Filling with her badge, reached to swipe it and hopefully open the door. That's not what happened. The door didn't open before swiping. That summoned something most deceptively someone. Angie giggled at her, reached out a little hand and knocked 3 times, screaming out as loud as she could. Open Sesame! And just like magic, the death door opened with a loud creak, allowing a set of long, pale yellow fingers to pull around and push it out with minimal effort. Angie, is that you? Oh, thank goodness! We were so worried about your silly Lily. You're going to get us in trouble if you keep this up. How did you get out? And who's this? The volume of the voice nearly blew her eardrums out. When Megan said loud, she wasn't exaggerating. Bellamy blinked and slowly craned her neck to look up. The daycare's resident animatronic was leaning out and peering down from behind the door. He was crouched. But even crouched, he had to be at least 7 feet tall. He was tall as gold and a staff in the lobby, but no less regal and apparent. She couldn't see the entirety of him, but what she could see faded clear in a picture. It was the sun attendant. Luxurious ruffle, lined his neck, waist and ankles. His wrist belt adorned with tiny golden bells, wrapped delicately in satin red ribbon. Even smaller bells were attached to the cold tips of his slippers with pink as police and DVDs that he told her. That was the jingle we should hear it. Below the ruffled waistline he was draped in rich, dear fawness, maroon and gold striped kaftans. So many ruffles. They look nice and fluffy. What of pants made of silk? They look so smooth. Opulent. At first, Bellamy had mistaken him for a man in a very fancy costume and mask. Pause. He leaned towards them, and as he did, his face oscillated a full totally 600 degrees. 360 degrees, I'm sorry. Completely independent from the neck and waist. No human could do that. At least, not while alive. From this angle, she could see without having to strain her neck. His face absorbed both the sun and moon. Golden pointed rays excited his face, 9 in total. A diadem of sunlight, glowing golden sunbeams. Or was it just gold glitter? He had to be the most interestingly designed animatronic she had ever seen. From the chiseled swell of his cheeks to the wide, static, macabre grin, he came together in a strange yet endearing way. At that moment, she understood exactly why the daycare security desk sat empty for so long. Some could indeed perceive him to be creepy. She assumed it must have been the milky pupilless eyes. It didn't make sense for his eyes to be completely white. That seemed like either a flaw when it was built or damage that was never repaired. The process restricted him to have sky blue irises. For a moment, the two sized each other up. Well pieced together how uncharacteristic it was for him to stay still and silent as he was, by the way, in the humping confusion. There was no mistaking how his eyes momentarily shifted. It dawned on her that Sandra was analyzing her face very, very closely. He had scanned her. Upon seeing Angie, he was happy, relieved to find her missing child. When his gaze fell on Bellamy, however, the inflection of his voice had changed to something much more guarded than he had prior to who she was. The way closer to his left shoulder began to twitch erratically. It was hard not to miss, especially while he stood perfectly still. Megan's words echoed in her mind. If it doesn't recognize you as a staff member, it could very well see you as a threat and attempt to physically remove you. The kids are its top priority. It was built not only to take care of the children and to tame them, but to guard them. Bellamy gulped and subtly took a half step back, leaning heavily on their right heel, intimidated. Sun didn't take that all too well. He shifted his upper body forward to deny her that space, giving her no room to breathe or run. As foolhardy as it would be, Belle had made the mistake of leaning away, and when she leaned away, Angie leaned away from him. It was taking up a threat. His face clicked, tilting 180 degrees to the right. His slender arms and fingers slowly inched up to grip the edges of both doors, perhaps to prevent startling Angie. Belle could see the wood of the doors cave and splinter beneath his fingertips. If she didn't know any better, she'd say he was getting ready to pounce. But Bellamy did know better. Sandra was getting ready to pounce. The gears on his arms, legs and hips had locked, and the quiet beard started up somewhere within his body. He was teeming with momentum. Despite Sun being completely stationary, the ominous wiring that emitted from him gave it away. Giving energy, giving propulsion. He was a loaded gun. Hammer crooked and finger on the trigger, fully prepared to pull the second she so much as blinked quickly. So she kept absolutely still. Her breathing slowed as her heart rate picked up. Based on how his head switched every so often, Bellamy guessed he was searching the company's database for answers as to who she was and what she was doing holding a child that wasn't her own, a child he had been tasked with taking care of. Either that or he was having an inner dialogue about what to do with her. She couldn't tell. All she could focus on was his proximity. He was so close, her nose nearly brushed against his chin. The scent of rich cinnamon and apple floated into her nostrils. Briefly, the thought of eating crossed her mind. She was pretty hungry. He smells like apple pie. That's kind of neat, I guess. Her legs fluttered in surprise. The sweet scent of apple pie made her belly rumble. That eased her tension a little. Suddenly, his breathing began to slow. The twitch and that single ray continued, albeit faster and more pronounced. But his limbs clicked as though unlocked, one by one, while his entire crown of sunrise fluttered in response. The gesture seemed odd, friendly. For a second, Bellamy was convinced Sun knew something she didn't. Knew her, recognized her on a personal level, but how was it even possible? This was her first day officially on the job, her first time encountering him. Sonny, this is Miss Bellamy. Isn't she pretty? I ran into her butt and she almost fell down the stairs and died. But she didn't, and now she brought me back to you so we can play while she finds Mommy. Angie finally cut Belle some slack and banished the tension entirely. It felt like hours, but in reality the exchange lasted a minute or so. Hearing how happy Angie was, Sunny immediately hopped out from behind the door and reached for him. Bellamy didn't waste time and lifted her from him to school. At the same time, she low-key flashed the security badge in her left hand. Carefully took Angie from it to hold as well as scan Belle's badge. His eyes brightened was the only indication he scanned her. The girl audibly clicked in his neck. The profile must have popped up after double-checking her badge. Wowie! Oh my god. I really tried to give his energy away. And side note for the people who don't know how tall 10 feet is. Bill, 8 feet, I'm sorry. He's 3 meters. Er ist 3 Meter groß. 3 fucking Meter. Have fun with this information. Und that's canon, I think. Back to the story. Da. Wowie! Irgendwie erinnert mich an Papyrus. That sounds like quite an adventure, Angie. But dying is against the rules, you know? No dying in the daycare. Pretty Miss Bellamy, so brand spanking new, didn't even recognize her. Silly me, silly Sunny. But that's okay. We'll let it slide. Won't we, Angie? Son laughed jovially as he cuddled the little girl. Angie nodded, laughed, sneezed, clapped, and giggled all at the same time while hugging his faceplate to her little body. Despite having no pulses, Belle heard his eyes when they shifted to look at her from under a little pink armpit. There was no real way to read him via facial expression. She stalked up the steps to hers. Bang and Samuel had made it abundantly clear that no one wanted to walk with him. Maybe he was preparing to be reprimanded for nearly pouncing on the stuffed member he thought was a child abductor. Taking all of it into consideration, she inhaled through her nose and swallowed unsettledly. It was better to approach the situation with kindness rather than fear or friendship. It's really nice to meet you, Mr. Sun. I'm Bellamy. This is my first day of resuming on the job. I was supposed to be shown around, but my tour guide Megan was indisposed. So I took the liberty of exploring on my own. So it's kind of a good thing Angie ran into me, rather me than a stranger. As she spoke, he listened, giving Belle his undivided attention, unhindered by the smart child crawling all over him like a little spider monkey. He seemed to be very interested in what she had to say. He nodded in agreement, belching as he shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Well, hello, new friend. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Sandra, or Sunny to my friends, and you sure are my new friend. Yep. And yes, very, very fortunate indeed. That's so glad Angie ran into a new friend. So, new friend, are you staying here? Sunny's voice was so friendly and upbeat, it made Belle smile. She could see why the children found him so likable. However, as she continued speaking, his unease became easier to identify. He was apprehensive of her presence, unsure of her attentions. She tried to ignore it with Belle, carried softly. It was subtle, but it was present. No matter how hard he tried to hide it, it was there. Hope. He was apprehensive but hopeful. He wanted someone to work with him. Wanted a friend. Oh, you're just really lonely, aren't you? Well, I'm not sure. My supervisor told me there are plenty of spots that need to be filled. Her heart broke the moment she finished answering his question. A loud say came from his ruffles around his neck. His mouth didn't move, but only made sensitive speakers built into his neck or behind his faceplate. It was second nature for her to be hyper-vigilant of body language and voice inflection. So when some shoulders dropped, the house ended from the original position. She knew it was unknowingly doing all the right things to invoke her instinct. The words poured from her lips before she could even think them over. But I think I'll also train in the daycare. It doesn't look so fun and colorful here, and I'm sure you could use another hand every so often. Not to mention some company other than the kiddos. She kept her voice purposely sweet and reassuring. Whatever impression the animatronic might have felt was washed away for the time being. Her tone had enough of an effect around the happy knot. The pep put right back on the slippered little step. That sounds wonderful! We can plan out activities for the kids and play together. There's enough glitter glue and Google Eyes for everyone. His arm stood up high into the air. Angie, not paying attention, screamed excitedly when Sunny did. No idea what was going on, she just caught the vibe and matched it. Oh, I almost forgot, it's nearly nap time. The mention of nap time made one excited Angie whine. But I don't want nap time. Moon is scary, and I'm not even tired. And I don't want you to go to sleep. She was definitely tired, yawning at the end of a little outburst. Moon. The other one. Meg had seemingly and genuinely afraid of Moon. Even Sunny flinched at the mention of Moon. Speaking of, Bellamy was curious as to where Sun's counterpart was. She remembered the tea walker said Moon looked after the children during nap time, but she wondered where he was when it wasn't nap time. Moon can't be that scary. They're anything like Mr. Sun, there isn't anything to be afraid of, honey. Bellamy hummed and rubbed over her short shoulder. He still ached from a near-death experience on the stairs. Those words only seemed to spur Sun's anxiety, who had taken Angie down from his shoulders to hold her right in front of his face. I won't be sleeping for very long, Pinky promised. I'll be back before I know it. So, why don't you run along and help everyone get ready for nap time? That would be super duper! And super duper helpers get an extra sticker at the end of nap time. Despite not wanting to, Angie obeyed. Once she settled down, she rattled between Sun's legs and disappeared into the daycare. As she cleared the door, Sun quickly shut and leaned back against it. It was just the two of them standing outside. Sandy lifted his hands to hold them in front of his chest. Wrists and fingers hung loosely. Kinda reminded her of a hamster, but he genuinely looked nervous. Bill wasn't sure how, but he was more expressive than most other people she interacted with, when he didn't even have a face that could convey facial expressions. You're actually going to ask? Now that Angie was back where she belonged, Sunny was back to his happy-go-lucky self. Or at least it was what Bellamy thought. The volume of his voice had lowered, slowed to a modern pitch. He was less animated with her than he was with Angie. Well, she wasn't a child. She was a member of staff. He must have been the way he was programmed to speak. Something in the way his shoulders and neck dropped forward fully felt vaguely human. His mannerism, the different tones of voice, the ultra-real anxiety displayed at the mention of Moon and nap time. Bellamy was fascinated. Plus, there was something else she considered. The ears on their head hadn't acted up since she entered the daycare. It was silent, no disturbance, no nothing. It was refreshing, to say the least. Having to deal with pissed-off souls here wouldn't be very casually. What if Sunny caught her mid-spiral, or worse, saw something she could? Her gift wasn't something she could bring up over a coffee, let alone explain to a 7-foot animatronic with anxiety issues. How exactly does one explain the paranormal to an animatronic in the first place? You don't. She would rather keep it to herself. Bellamy didn't realize she had been silent for a prolonged period of time, only snapping back to reality when Sun slapped his hands over his face and tugged. Yet again, the owner was being real twitchy. Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry. Scratched it. Survey anxiety issues. If animatronics could take 81, she would have offered him 1 2. The whole fucking bottle. Would she get fired for trying? Maybe she'd get promoted if it actually worked. No, of course not. You didn't do anything wrong. She raised both of her hands in a mock surrender and shook her head. I just get lost in my thoughts sometimes, that's all. It's not your fault. And yes, I am going to ask Samuel before I leave today. I promise. That seemed to reassure the anxious attendant. His hand slid from his faceplate and fell limply at his sides, only to quickly shoot back up again with a loud gasp. Nap time! I almost forgot! The sound of his hand slamming at his face made her jump. How did it not hurt? The force behind it would have easily knocked any human's block off. That's right, she had completely forgotten about it as well. It was strange. How could Sun forget one of his main directives? Again, it seemed very human to Belle. Well, Miss Bellamy, your friend. It was super duper nice to meet you, but nap time is less than 10 minutes away. Don't worry about finding Angie's mother. I got it covered. As he finished his statement, he stood straight and ruffled his ruffles. Fuck, he's tall. Sunroof had to be nearly 8 feet tall, if not taller. Her head barely reached the bottom button on his midsection. She thought he dropped her while he was crouched. If he raised his arms above his head, his fingertips could nearly reach the top of the double doors. Hell, he could probably jump off them if not for the netting. Bellamy didn't have much time to gawk over the height difference enough. Though Sun had other ideas. Okay. Okay. It was nice to meet you too, Sun. Without warning, Sunset spun violently before it swung on its hinge, down towards her before going limp. It hung there loosely, swaying with the excess tongue. It gave her a brief glance at the... A torque! Oh my god, I'm so sorry for that. Swaying with the excess torque. It gave her a brief glance at the dark, flat surface that composed the back of his head. His head was more of a faceplate than anything else. Lots of wires, capacitors, resistors, and other vital components that brought sunlight to life were all there. It reminded her of an exposed mother. And in the middle of those components was a hinge that connected his face flat to a slender metal tube. That's what allowed him to swing his head around like that. Not exactly scary, but maybe just a little intense. He's trying to frighten her off. The disconnect between human and machine couldn't have been made any more apparent than was at the moment. I think it's time for you to get a move on, new friend. The friendly lit up his voice, trying to lower the pitch and convey a sense of urgency. You wouldn't want to be here when the lights go out. No, that just won't do. Run. Alone. Taking her back by her forceful last words were combined with how romantic he looked, with his hands swinging lifelessly just above his waist. Upside down nonetheless, Bellamy spun around from both animatronic and double doors, briskly walked up the stairs 2 at a time. Despite being so close to nap time, Sam refused to move until she left. He wanted to watch her go for himself to ensure she was far away from the big safe. Sunny made sure she was safe. Once she reached the top of the stairs from one of the corners, she dared to peek over the railing. Just in time to observe the animatronic slip back where he came from. As soon as Sunny closed the door, the lights began to dim before blacking out entirely. What in the world? Bellamy muttered to herself, the lights all around her were snuffed out, leaving uncomfortable darkness. The transition that followed, however, was mesmerizing to say the least. Once brilliantly blue skies gave way to the dark and nightscape filled with hundreds of twinkling stars. The abrupt change was staring as you weren't expecting it, sure. But nevertheless, it was a beautiful sight to see. She had always enjoying stargazing. It was a shame she couldn't as often as she liked. The brightness of the city made it difficult to see the stars. That typical nightscape though was beautiful. It reminded her of when she was younger, spending whole summers living in the middle of nowhere with her grandparents. It was so bright. Bellamy had to convince herself to do as Sunny demanded, and sleep instead of golfing on the starter ball. She managed to feel her way back to the front stairs and checking this. Beyond the gates was marginally brighter. The glow of Bella's vending machines helped, but it was still very dark. Kai struggled to focus as she looked for Sam. Megan was nowhere to be found. The entire lobby of the daycare was vacant. It made her uncomfortable to just stand there. Don't stop moving. Keep going. Just go. Fucking leave. A hands clenched, unclenched with each breath. Before your own knees were forced into another spiral, Bellamy bent off. Dipping under the vertically sliding citadel before she fully lifted her lower through, passing the vending machines, the fancy posters and battles. Only then was she even safe to stop and catch her breath. Against her by the dustman, she took one last step over her shoulder. What the fuck? She had anticipated an empty, darkened corridor and lower shutter. That wasn't what she was met with. Not at all. What? Instead, she muttered as she stopped in her tracks to fully turn and stare. She stood right in the border where the Chinese checkered floors of the ground floor turned into the geometric trial of the corridor leading into the daycare. All her body bathed in neon light and her over in the darkness. It was too far for her to make out much detail. Detail had nothing to do with it. From where she was standing, Bellamy could see all the way to the other end of the dimly corridor. More importantly, she could clearly see that the shutter hadn't completely shut. It was raised 1/4 of the way, revealing a sliver of the lingering dark on the other side. Within that sliver of darkness were 2 bright, red glowing dots. Based on how the glow balance of the tile and lip of the metal shutter, it had to be either nailed and penned at a perfect 90-degree angle or laid completely flat on the ground to look out from under. There are those eyes. Is she another animatronic? She stood there for a while, trying to figure out what she was squinting at, more curious than anything. It was always that with her. There was something there. Belle was sure of it. She tilted her head to the left, trying to get a different perspective. She got something, alright. Just for a better perspective. The 2 pinpricks of red brightened and spun from being horizontally level to vertically, mimicking her movement. She blinked and slowly tilted the head in the opposite direction and observed the pinpricks as they spun around in the same direction before lining up vertically to the ground, matching her. It had mimicked her twice. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. She took a slow step back, but changed her mind to step back to where she initially stood. Bellamy stood her ground, unafraid but unwilling to deal with more than she already was, silent through emotions. Then the little red dot started to sway back and forth in a very familiar manner. Is that Sunny? No, it can't be. Chris got wide eyes. She had been seeing something her head and ears would have been throbbing. But there was nothing. No pain, no ring, just a pair of little red friendships that danced in the dark and mocking her. Elvira shifted upwards towards the top of the archway, catching further movement. From what you could see, the stutter was struggling to lower her lift, but she peered through. A solid round of metal against metal that caused sparks to erupt from the mechanism at the top. Whatever those red dots belonged to was actively keeping the daycare's shutter from closing, holding it in place to peer down the corridor. At her. Chills ran down her spine and in thought. It was strong enough to not only push and hold up 1,000 lbs of force, but keep it there. It had to be an animatronic. It had to be. Bellamy was unsure if the dog was playing tricks on her, or if she was actually seeing the faint outline of a spindly hand gripping at the bottom of the shutter and another flat on the ground. According to the tape she watched the day before, the shutter wasn't an ordinary one. It was considered a preventive measure. The shutter in question had two precise movement-based sensors. The sensor on the outside raised for any kind of movement, inviting parents and their children into the corridor and to the daycare, while the sensor on the inside only raised for either parents and children with matching checkout tokens. Parents with no token and children with no daycare wristband. Otherwise, it wouldn't look. Instead, it would slam shut and sound a silent alarm, alerting staff, security, and local authorities all at once. But more importantly, was the alert would send to the daycare's resident animatronic attendant, some group of movement. Judging by Sam's reaction alone to seeing a missing child, Bellamy, someone who wasn't a parent of the audience, could only imagine what it would be like if someone actively attempted to snatch a child from his territory right in front of them. As foolish as it would be, the superstar daycare had to have the most advanced metal-looking constructed and biological system Bellamy had ever seen. Okay, not my problem. She tried to convince herself the sensor was just malfunctioned. The badge scanners probably flashed red to indicate the issue for staff to notice. Yeah, right. Who was she kidding? Before she could ultimately convince herself to turn away, the shutter was let go. All 1,000 lbs of core force and metal slammed down with a thunderous crash that sent Bellamy reeling backward. Yep, that's still not my problem! With that in mind, her feet swiftly carried her off towards the escalators and led down to the front desk. Completely missing a mischievous laughter coming from the other side. Oh, we all knew who that was. All things considered, Bellamy felt confident, or at least as confident as a new, unsupervised employee could be, about being lost in it. If she did happen to manage it, she was sure Sunny would help her out, as much as she could anyway, seeing as she was bound to the The only animatronic that had limited movement, at least the only one she knew of. But I mean, that makes sense. You can't go too far. Leaving the children could land the company a lawsuit or even worse, a missing child. A quick glance at her flashlight told her it had been maybe an hour since she first arrived. The way back was uneventful, as was the rest of her shift. It consisted mainly of Sam talking and showing her the rest of the pizza plaques. Only one word could describe what she thought. Raining. The place was gigantic. Having to control it entirely of it was going to be exhausting. No wonder Vanessa seemed so grumpy. When lunchtime rolled around, her free-meal voucher was traded for a burger, fries, and a large pizza fest. It was 6 out of 10. Bellamy had eaten better, but it was free. There wasn't anyone she knew who anonymously complained about the thing. After a much-needed break from working camp to actual hands-on training, cashier training was elementary. She picked it up within the first 5 minutes. From that point on, her shift was a puller of ringing up customers and learning how to unnecessarily overstock shelves. Before Bellamy knew it, the time was 7:47 p.m. I think I know where I'd like to work, at least for Friday. Sam looked up at her from his phone. And where would that be? The pair had been sitting in the back room behind the front desk, killing time. There wasn't much left to do. The gift shops were locked up, money accounted, locked and stashed away. The final goal proved the restrooms, the changing rooms, the completed early. She gave it a moment before she answered with one word. Daycare. Answer made him choke in surprise. You want to walk there? Seriously? Zero's response had Bellamy feeling a certain kind of way. You know that icy cold, white hot sensation you get in your face and stomach when someone insults you? Yeah, that. That's precisely what Bellamy felt as she opened her mouth, to cut him off, preventing him from saying anything further. Her brow arched sharply, toned that time. I met Sandra. He is nice and very good at what he does. Megan, however, refused to show me around the daycare. I found the little girl running around by herself on one side of the play area. She had run up the stairs and bumped into me. We have a perfect view of the party rooms from the check-in desk. There's absolutely no way Megan didn't see that little girl, dressed bright neon pink, walking all by herself. She could have hurt herself, or worse, abducted. Megan's negligence could have created a very serious situation, not to mention a lawsuit. So yes, I want to walk in the daycare. If someone is going to walk with Sandra, it should be someone who cares about what happens to the children our guests pay us to keep safe. Being a father yourself, I'm sure you understand how things could have turned out if it wasn't there. Her words had an immediate effect on Sam. The man had set his phone down in favor of his tablet, typing ferociously on it. An expression told everything. He was concerned as well as deeply embarrassed. Never spoken to in such a manner from someone below him, nonetheless. The points she had made were solid and indisputable. She knew he couldn't remember for the tone she used. As nice as Megan was, there was a level of professionalism that needed to be maintained at the place at work, especially if it puts a child at risk. You're completely right, Bellamy. If that was my son, I would have pressed hail. We'll have a talk with Megan tomorrow. In the meantime, I'll see what I can do about putting you with it. Sunrub, I mean. Sam's response was satisfactory. She nodded, she stood, grabbing her bag. After a brief goodbye, she made her way to the restroom. Andrew rushing through her veins, her fingers combed through her bangs as she attempted to calm down. Unbelievable. She hadn't expected to speak as much as she did moments prior. Her throat was sure, plus her arm and back still felt familiar. Speaking of discomfort, Anthony Dacre was a strange sort of a spy. Head and ears hadn't acted up in the remainder of the shift. That means one of two things would happen. Nightmares, or another episode was soon to follow. The dead rarely left her breathing room. She figured because they couldn't, why should they let her? Anxiety began to ooze from her pores. She didn't want to deal with either of those. She stuffed her hand into her back to feel around for her pills before remembering she didn't have any left, and she'd forgotten to call and request a refill that morning. Of course. And after a moment of mentally scolding herself, she shook her head and sighed. There wasn't anything to worry about. For the time being, she pulled her phone out of her pocket to make the call before she forgot again. Exiting the bathroom, Bellamy was met with an unlit and dark lobby, but she wasn't paying much attention to her surroundings on the speaker with the pharmacy's automatic refill system while she searched for her car keys. To refill a prescription, please press 1. Beep. Okay, I see you want to refill your prescription. Please enter the prescription number located on the top left of the bottle. I hate that word. Beep, 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 beep. Thank you. According to our records, the first few letters of the last name are read. If this is correct, please press 1. Beep. Thank you. Your prescription should be ready tomorrow, August 5th at 10:40 am. If you would like to refill another prescription, please press 1. Otherwise, feel free to hang up. Bellamy hung up. Just in time, too. She had reached the Saltham exit. The flickering red light above the double doors was a guide to freedom. This time, she didn't swipe her badge right away. She stood still right in front of the door. Breath felt in the back of her throat. For what, she wasn't sure. It was silent as any empty building should be, until the ears picked up on something that wasn't supposed to be there. Faint and nearly inaudible was the unmistakable sound of jingle bangers. Her body froze, head tilted to one side in an effort to hear better. Bellamy recalled it was far, but as the seconds ticked by, it got louder. Sunny? She called out into the dark. Nothing. The jingling had gotten to the point of being so loud that Bellamy was convinced it was right behind her. She whipped around, expecting to see someone or something standing there. She was met with nothing. Her eyes narrowed suspiciously as she slowly reached into her bag to pull out a company-issued flashlight. With a click, it flickered to life. The beam was strong enough to give her about 10 feet of visibility. If you're trying to scare me, you're gonna need to try a lot harder than that. I don't scare easily. There are four things that could be hiding in the dark. If only she knew what was actually there, she might have kept her mouth shut. Her voice traveled, echoing wall to wall. There was no reply. The jingling had ceased when she turned on the flashlight. For the most part, she was speaking truthfully. Bellamy wasn't afraid. If anything, she was still annoyed and irked by the conversation with Sam to feel anything else. Her heartbeat was steady, her breath calm, and even as she searched for the source of the noise. The beam of her flashlight washed over trash cans, benches, and the occasional cardboard cutout. But that was it. There wasn't anyone here. Bellamy stood there for a long while, waving her flashlight from left to right. Once she felt confident there wasn't anyone here, she shut the flashlight off and stuffed it back in her bag. Strapping her badge and shoving the door open, she took one last look behind her and sighed. Well, good night. See you tomorrow. Don't miss me too much. And then she was gone. Here again, she didn't bother tilting her flashlight upward. If she had, things would have gotten complicated rather quickly. A few moments passed before the jingle started again, accompanied by the whir of multiple gears shifting and spinning. The flickering exit fan had concealed the bright red glow, two eyes just above it, otherwise hidden by the door. It was night, and then there's silence. The drive home was far longer than Bellamy anticipated. A pit stop at the local McDonald's added 10 minutes per commute. There was quite a bit on her mind, mainly about the daycare and the anxious Sunday. He was so expressive and lifelike, she was convinced she had been talking to another person. His anxiety revolved her own. It was uncanny how precise his tone and body language was, down to the trembling in his fingers and the nervous twist of his face. They reminded her of her own nervous steps. She'd rubbed at the size of her head and was upset. But why in the fuck would someone program an animatronic with anxiety? Especially if it was mean to look after themselves. There wouldn't. The death Bellamy was the only feasible answer to her question. It was her learned behavior. He had been mistreated in one way or another. It was clear as day. It's only because of his behavior, but if I had co-workers spoke about him mistaken. That didn't sit right with her at all. While Bellamy wasn't exactly a social butterfly or one to speak much in general, there was one thing she refused to tolerate. Abuse of any kind. She didn't put up with it during high school. Didn't put up with it when her little sister was being bullied, so she wasn't about to now as an adult. She knew nighttime routine would be something she'd have to get used to. Laundry, shower, pajamas, dinner, bed. Bellamy rarely slept during the night, kept up by noises only she could hear. But if she was being honest, those sounds purled in comparison to what she'd witnessed at work. Falling into her bed was the best part of her day. All in walking had really tired her out. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it was definitely nice. Unlike the night before, she couldn't fall asleep immediately. Instead, she opened her bedside drawer and pulled out a warm green journal, and pulling the leather cord kept it back. She skimmed over the pages and went to finding an empty one. Pulling a pen from the bedside tabletop, she began to write the innermost thoughts and not what happened on the first day of Gildia's play. And now passed of the blink of an eye. Time on his phone reached 11:30. Alright, bedtime. She placed the journal back in the drawer and tossed the pen onto her nightstand to roll over and settle into her sheets. Sleep came swiftly. She was out in a matter of minutes. So, das war das zweite Kapitel von Starling, Your Cellophan, Daydream. Kleiner Sneak Peek auf morgen. Chapter 3, what would you know? Bellamy and Sunny McLuhan, they're fucking nice. Kleiner Sneak Peek. Ich werde, wie gesagt, noch gucken, ob ich meine Tools besser finde und dass ich das nicht mache, dass ich mein Screen recorde. Außer das ist fein mit euch, dann ist es auch okay für mich. Sonst lasst ein Like da. Gebt mir bitte Kritik in irgendeiner Form, ob ich zu schnell lese, weil ich merke das leider nicht. ob ich deutlich genug spreche. Und ja, ich würde mich sehr darüber freuen. I'd like to check out Starling your cellophan daydream von Hack Starlight, because the story is really, really good. And it might make be happy, very, very happy. So go over here, boy, and check it out. Thank you. They're crazy.